Well, it's shaping up to be a pretty good day for the final day of 2025, and we're going to spend today reviewing a lot of the top local and national military stories. So the United States Army had its 250th birthday in June, and Fort Sill celebrated with a bang in true artillery style. Soldiers, families, veterans, and community members came together to enjoy static displays from the field artillery and the air defense artillery branches, sample local food trucks, and even experience the rare opportunity to fire a howitzer.
Well, it's truly about legacy. You know, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and this is a big event for recruiting. It's a big event for outreach within the community. And for air defense, you know, we're a growing branch, and we got a lot that's going on in our world today, and we're really able to show and tell our story.
That celebration also featured a special enlistment ceremony symbolizing the continued commitment of a new generation of service to our nation. The day included a stunning live fire showcasing both historic and modern weapon systems, including a dramatic drone swarm display. It was a fitting tribute to 250 years of Army excellence, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that the field artillery branch itself celebrated its 250th birthday in November, King of Battle. Also in June, the U.S. Army announced a controversial plan to close and consolidate dozens of its museums, including Fort Sill's National Historic Landmark and Museum, which met stiff resistance from veterans groups and lawmakers. Shortly after the announcement, Oklahoma's congressional delegation sent a letter of support regarding Fort Sill's National Historic Landmark and Museum and the Field Artillery Half Section to the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll. Oklahoma Congressman Tom Cole discussed his plans to keep the museum open, saying it is an iconic piece of military history.
This is a really unique piece of American history, and so Senator Langford and I have headed up a delegation letter to try and get the Secretary of the Army to relook at this. I'm going to be visiting with him personally about it as well. So hopefully we can, because again, we're going to maintain that historic core of Fort Sill anyway. So the additional cost to maintain the active museum is really not that much money, and it's important to the community. I think it's important, honestly, for our men and women in uniform to understand the traditions that they're building upon.
Now, even though the half section is being retired, the fate of the Fort Sill National Historic Landmark and Museum is still in flux. Our last update immediately following the government shutdown was that it was put on hold, at least as of right now. We will reach back out early next year for an update. Well, the Fire Symposium, previously known as the Fires Conference, is an annual premier event for the field artillery and the air defense artillery. It brings together thousands of military leaders from numerous nations, as well as defense industry partners, to talk about the future of both branches. I caught up with Major General Brooks, the former FCO and Fort Sill CG, at the end of this year's conference. Let's take a look back at what he said.
Sir, so looking over the last 4 days of the Fire Symposium this year, what stood out to you the most throughout the conference?
Well, I would tell you, you would be amazed at the interaction that has occurred, not just within the panels and the keynote speakers, but we had 35 nations represented here from all over the world. We had industry here from all over the world, and it was just amazing to see how hungry they are to understand what we need for the future of the fires, both field and air defense artillery, and a great opportunity to showcase our military experts and where we're going in the future.
Well, that's pretty amazing. 35 countries, you know, so I don't know what just happened there. They popped out of that. So that was a lot longer there. But I'm going to continue to scroll here. So the Fire Symposium is a pretty amazing event. So the next Fire Symposium, so Fire Symposium 2025, sorry, Fire Symposium 2026 is currently scheduled for April 13th through the 16th inside the Convention Center at the Vista, and you can be sure your 7 News team will provide full coverage. Moving on to Altus Air Force Base. Altus Air Force Base provided support to Operation Midnight Hammer, a precision strike on Iranian nuclear sites in June of this year. Airmen with the 97th Air Mobility Wing provided rapid refueling and airlift support, enabling long-range bombers to strike key targets in Iran. Base officials shared their enthusiasm for the completed mission, saying, quote, "The 97th Air Mobility Wing continues to train exceptional mobility airmen who will always deliver unparalleled global reach anytime, anywhere. The Altus Air Force Base community came together in August to celebrate the 27th annual Cattle Drive. The Longhorns were taken for a 3.5-mile loop around the base, stopping at 3 different places to graze. Altus Air Force Base is the only base in the country that participates in a cattle drive like this, making it a tradition, kind of one of a kind. People on base got a close-up look to get up close and personal with the cattle as they move through, making for another unforgettable drive.
This is Bull's project. He's always got me working on one around the barn, so today was the day for him to be around people, and hopefully I don't get bucked off.
Gotcha. So is this his first time at the cattle drive?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness. So he's new to this. That is so cool.
Yeah.
I think he has a couple of things.
I think he's saying they're leaving us. We better go.
I know that Skylar had pretty fun time covering that particular event. So the 97th Air Mobility Wing at Altus Air Force Base conducts support missions worldwide, refueling Americans' forces and keeping them safe in the sky. Your 7 News team got a once-in-a-lifetime chance to fly alongside the 97th Air Mobility Wing and get to see firsthand what an air refueling mission looks like.
Our 7 News crew was invited to Media Day at Altus Air Force Base, allowing me to experience a once-in-a-lifetime event, being on an Air Force plane during mid-air refueling of another plane. The U.S. Air Force uses aerial refueling, also known as in-flight refueling. The purpose is to extend the range of its aircraft, allowing them to fly longer distances and stay active for extended periods. Imagine the upside in the case of war. We were on board a KC-135 aircraft that has a maximum transfer fuel load of 200,000 pounds.
So you guys saw the KC-46 today out of Altus Air Force Base. We do a lot of refueling with them, both operationally and for training, and that's what you saw today.
The KC-135 uses what's called a flying boom to connect to the receiver aircraft, in this case, a KC-46 Pegasus. Though the Pegasus is smaller in size when compared to the KC-135, it is a plane with improved capabilities which can carry a great deal of fuel for the purpose of doing its own mid-air refueling to even smaller aircraft. After a flight of just over 2 hours, we descend once again to Altus Air Force Base. Mission completed.
Well, now moving on to south of the Red River, we're going to look at Sheppard Air Force Base. So the T-7A Red Hawk touched down at Sheppard Air Force Base earlier this month on an overnight stop from St. Louis. The team at Sheppard says that it was an honor to help launch the Air Force's newest trainer toward Joint Base San Antonio Randolph and the 12th Flying Training Wing. They say that they look forward to the future of training with this next generation aircraft that's leading the way. Well, taking a look at some of the top stories from around the forces, in September of this year, the Department of Defense changed to the Department of War via an executive order from President Trump. The executive order established the Department of War as a secondary title because the legal name, it technically remains the Department of Defense unless Congress passes legislation to officially change it. The DOW says that they made the change because defense was too politically correct and that war better reflects a warrior ethos and a more assertive national security posture. The department's website was updated to war.gov, and some physical signage at the Pentagon was replaced to reflect the new title and the Secretary of War title for Pete Hegseth. Well, the U.S. Army went through significant organizational changes this year that saw the merging and deactivation of multiple major commands. Training and Doctrine Command merged with Army Futures Command to form Transformation and Training Command, or T2COM, and Army Forces Command, Army North and Army South, all deactivated and merged to form U.S. Army Western Hemisphere Command. The changes were designed to cut down on redundancy and red tape while ensuring the Army can effectively meet evolving global security challenges. Taking a look back at some of your top military headlines from 2025, the U.S. government entered a partial government shutdown from October 1st until November 12th. Troops continued to work during the shutdown without pay, but many non-mission essential civilian personnel were furloughed while lawmakers attempted to work out a deal. Active duty service members were paid on October 15th thanks to an $8 billion that were diverted from R&D from the Department of War. Then on October 24th, the Pentagon announced it would accept a private $130 million donation to help pay personnel by longtime Trump donor Timothy Mellon. And the U.S. has been conducting strikes on suspected drug boats in 2025. While airstrikes began in September, the War Department announced Operation Southern Spear in mid-November, signaling a major shift in U.S. forces to the Caribbean. So far, there have been 30 strikes on 31 vessels as part of the campaign and have resulted in at least 107 deaths. Operation Southern Spear has drawn harsh criticism over the legality of the strikes. President Trump mobilized the National Guard in several American cities in 2025. In June, troops were deployed to Los Angeles to help protect federal assets and help with immigration enforcement. The National Guard was mobilized to Washington, D.C. and Memphis in an effort to cut down on alleged crime spikes. President Trump attempted to deploy the Guard in Chicago and Portland, but efforts there stalled due to legal challenges. 2 National Guard troops were shot at close range in Washington, D.C. in November by an Afghan national that was living in the U.S. West Virginia National Guard members Sarah Beckstrom and Andrew Wolf were attacked by Ramanullah Lockenwall the day before Thanksgiving. Beckstrom would later die from her injuries, and Wolf remains in recovery in the hospital. This month, Lockenwall was charged with several federal crimes. War Secretary Pete Hegseth and President Trump met with top military generals at Marine Corps Base Quantico to discuss the future direction of the DOW. During his speech, Secretary Hegseth noted several changes coming to forces, including the removal of what he calls woke culture, new physical fitness and grooming standards, reducing the amount of mandatory training, and empowering leadership. Hegseth emphasized peace through strength, with a focus on lethality to deter conflicts. And on the international stage, President Trump and U.S. diplomats successfully negotiated a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Currently, the deal is entering its second phase as Israeli forces have also partially withdrawn from parts of Gaza, but retain full control of more than half of the enclave. However, Hamas says that they are still unwilling to disarm themselves until their conditions are met for self-governance and control of the region. Well, taking a look at your good news. So a city in North Dakota is ending 2025 with a bang, literally. They're attempting to break the world record for fireworks displays, but also honor our nation's veterans. The New Year, New Light Remember Our Veterans 2026 show is a pyro musical tribute to patriotism. Organizers say that they plan to send a message of hope to veterans who are fighting unseen battles with PTSD and homelessness. The show is also a part of North Dakota's official celebrations for the United States' 250th birthday next year.